So we're nearly at the end of this task book now. Fish farming essay. And they're saying that it provides employment, financial gain, brilliant. And it's a way of preventing overfishing. So if you have fish farms, then we don't get overfishing of the Atlantic, for example, the normal sea fishing. Then we're looking at two elements, nitrogen and phosphorus, and this is what's going in, and then these are going out. And so essentially these are kind of waste. Waste nitrogen and phosphorus. So if we are chucking a load of nitrogen, ammonium ions into water, then we're going to have some problems. And the main problem that you can think about is eutrophication. What do we need to do? So use the information provided. I might use some numbers and things in this essay. Your own knowledge. So I know about eutrophication. That springs to mind. And possible ecological impacts of fish farming. Right. So ecological impacts of fish farming. Oh, my little friend's back. Let me get rid of him. There we are. So, ecological effects of fish farming. Okay. So possible ecological effects, and then other ways to prevent overfishing. Explain how these methods are prevented. So we're preventing overfishing. So prevention of overfishing. So those are my kind of two main clouds. Things that I know about. I know about eutrophication. I'm going to talk a lot about eutrophication. And I actually know some more things about fish farming from my notes. So other impacts. And then I know a bunch of things, like fishing quotas and mesh sizes and things like that, preventing overfishing. So those are my three areas actually: eutrophication, other impacts, and prevention of overfishing. I'm not going to write in the essay. Nobody wants to watch me write an essay, but I'll just give you some of the main indicative content. So you are talking about the nitrogen and phosphorus, and you know about the nitrogen cycle, but the phosphorus cycle is very, very similar in terms of inorganic and organic. And so nitrogen loss, that's where I might talk. I could give some numbers there. And this is growth of algae. Could talk about blooms, and then they might less light for plants below this algal bloom, and then you get that then leads to decomposition of the algae, that BOD, biological oxygen demand, raises, and then you get problems. Less oxygen, less O2 for for example, fish. You might get denitrification. So get your notes out in your mind because you've revised it, and you can give a bunch of stuff about eutrophication due to having lots of nitrogen and phosphorus ions. So you can talk about phosphorus as well. Other impacts. And if you try and use some of the data from the table as well, so I'll put that there. Use data from table in your answer. Other impacts of fish farming. Well, you've got lots of fish in a very small area, which can lead to diseases spreading to the wild populations. So disease to wild populations. Quite often they will use antibiotics, and that might lead to resistance, and you know about that from some areas of your notes. We could talk about pesticides having to be used to keep parasites off, things like that. So there's lots of other impacts of fish farming, and your notes just need to come pouring out onto the page. And then how can we prevent overfishing? Well, there's lots of things that you can talk about here. Lots of things. So things like, and this is overfishing in the natural waters. So you can talk about mesh size. So if we keep the mesh size to allow small fish to escape, then they can then reproduce. So we're only catching the adults. So only catch the adults. And other things, you can prevent boats from going out at certain times of the year, or only let them catch so much. So quotas, closed seasons, so size of fish that you can land. So they quite often measure them at the port, and you'll get into trouble if your fish are too small. So landing size regulations, all fascinating stuff this if you're interested in fishing. Exclusion zones, so you can only fish in certain areas. And so that's your essay. Now I also need to put the password in. Your teacher might ask you for the password to make sure you've looked at this video there, and the password is that's the password. Enjoy writing the essay.